most of us have started dabbling in something new, or at least have thought about dabbling in something new, one of which being starting a YouTube channel, or something else that involves filming ourselves. Now, for those of us that haven't started yet, there may be a few speed bumps in the way that have stopped us or are preventing us as of right now from doing so. A few of those things might be, what gear do I need? Or I don't have enough money to buy a new camera, or you simply don't know where to start. So today we're going to be discussing the basics pertaining to filming yourself. Again, very basic. Now, for those of you that have been around for quite some time now, do not worry. We're still going to be doing haircuts, beard care, and fitness stuff very soon. Let's talk about the tools. Now, we need something to capture an image, we need something to capture audio, and something else that will come in handy is a tripod, being that we're doing this ourselves. Now, going back to the questions from earlier as far as the camera that you need or not being able to buy a new camera, no need to fret, no need to worry, because most of us, the device that we use to make a phone call will more than suffice for making a video. My point here is, let's see, I have a iPhone 6s. Again, obviously not anything fancy. You can use an Android. Whatever it is that you use to make phone calls these days typically can take a video. Now, what we're going to do right here, I'm going to switch over to my iPhone 6s. Boom! So we're now recording on my iPhone 6s. You may notice that the audio may not be as good as the other camera, or maybe it is, and maybe the visuals as far as the image might not be as good of a quality as the previous camera. Nonetheless, again, this is an iPhone 6s, nothing fancy, and this will more than suffice for capturing an image and making a video. So now we're going to switch back to the other camera. Boop. So now we're on the other camera. Now, speaking of this camera right here, this is a Panasonic G85. Nothing fancy. It's definitely older than 5 years. I've had it for at least 5 years. And you know what? It's probably a lot older than that. It's maybe $200 to $300 nowadays. So again, another example of something not being fancy by any means. And this pretty much, for my travel vlogs and my everyday vlogs, I use this probably 90% of the time. The size of this camera is very small and is very easy to handle, especially if you're doing it handheld, because the heavier cameras, like let's say a full frame Canon, if you're hand holding that for an extended period of time, your arm starts to shake, and then so that makes the video shake as well. I'm going off on a tangent. Nonetheless, this isn't a fancy camera, and this more than will suffice for any daily vlogging that I'm doing for social media purposes. Now, let's sit down and we're going to go further into details about cameras and audio and also lighting. Going further into detail about cameras, there's things such as autofocus or in-body image stabilization that will help out tremendously, especially when taking in consideration that you're filming yourself. Autofocus, just like the name implies, when a camera has good autofocus, no matter where you are in screen, it will find you. And there's things such as eye autofocus that wherever your eye in the frame is, the camera will make sure that's in focus, which is absolutely crazy, the amount of technology that they have these days. And pretty much all of the camera manufacturers are right up to par with each other. When it comes to autofocus though, the leaders in the pack are going to be Sony and Canon as of right now from what I've heard. Now, when it comes to IBIS, the way that helps in internal body image stabilization, how that can come into play with helping your production value is when you are hand holding like I was doing earlier, we all have a little bit of shake in our hands, some more than others. And what IBIS does is it helps smooth out that image. Now it's not going to be perfect, but it's going to be a lot smoother than what it was beforehand. Now again, just like with autofocus, there are certain companies that excel in the internal body image stabilization. One of which being Panasonic is phenomenal for their IBIS, as well as Fuji, which is phenomenal. Again, most of the other companies have it, but it's just not up to par with Fuji and Panasonic. We're just going to keep it very basic when it comes to the camera specs and what to look for if you're wanting to film yourself. So again, very basic. But if you want to hear more about the specs when comparing cameras and which ones will be better for you if you are filming yourself, let us know in the comment section below. Now going into audio, like I was saying before, most of the devices that we do have some kind of internal mic. The iPhone 6s has an internal mic, but it's not going to be as high of quality as, let's say, a Shogun mic by Deity, or I think this is Movo. And there's a huge price difference between the two. This Movo mic, I think this is like 30 or 40 bucks, whereas this Deity is around $200. And in all honesty, again, I think 90% of the time I am using this Movo mic, and it's a matter of $30 or $40. Now, I choose to use this mic because the audio quality is good enough for me, and the size of it is a lot smaller compared to this mic right here, so it makes it a lot easier to carry around, especially when I'm traveling. All right, the other thing, tripod. You need something to put your camera on to keep it steady. So there's the normal size tripods, and there's, like, I have this little Manfrotto right here. This Manfrotto that's holding the Panasonic on right now. I'll put an image of it right here. Boop. So that's what I'm using. That's around, I think it's 40 or 50 bucks. I'll post that, boop, right there as well. And then I also have your normal full-size tripod. Now tripods can go anywhere from like $25 up to thousands of dollars. Literally, me, for everything that I do, the tripod that I use, I think it's like 75 bucks. It's very sturdy. You want to make sure that your tripod's sturdy. If it's not sturdy, then it's kind of pointless to have it. And so yeah, how much was it? I think it was like somewhere between 50 and 75 bucks. I'll look into that. And as with all of the other stuff that I listed previously, I'm going to go ahead. I'll put all of that in the description box below with links so you can go check them out, see what the prices are, because I should know the prices, but I don't know them off the top of my head. Being that I've had this gear for so long, I've pretty much forgotten. I don't know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. Anyways, all right, so we went over the camera, we went over audio, we went over tripods. Now, one of the most important things when it comes to video is lighting. Now, you can go out, you can spend thousands of dollars on lighting, or you can simply use the light coming in from the window if you do have that option. I mean, I know weather doesn't always allow for that, but for the most part, most of us do have the option of standing next to a window and having that natural light come in. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the camera. This is the light from the window. Now, this is good lighting. Let's turn this around. This lighting isn't as optimal, being that I'm the subject of this video right now, but yet I'm not the one that's well lit. Everything behind me is well lit to where now I'm well lit. So that's the difference between good lighting and bad lighting. If you want to add more mood to your lighting from directly to the side of you. And so you can see there's a little more mood. This is lit up right here, where this is a little dark and mysterious, if you will. But don't get me wrong, depending on the feel that you're going for, maybe what you're looking for does call being backlit as opposed to being lit from the front or the side. Again, it all goes into the story that you're wanting to tell. Alrighty, so we have discussed cameras, we've discussed audio, we've discussed tripods, and we've discussed lighting. Now this is we've just a little touch, a little douse of each one of those. Now we're going to be discussing framing. Now what framing is, it's pretty much where your subject is within the actual frame, and there's a guideline or there's a rule, and it's called the rule of thirds. Now what this is it states that your subject should be either in the middle or on a third of each side of the frame. Going back to the beginning, when you are discussing the frame, let's go back before the rule of thirds. Let's make sure and discuss what's actually being seen in camera. Again, depending on the story that you're telling, most of us, we don't want a lot of stuff distracting from the main subject in the story. So that's one thing to keep in mind, is that when you are setting up to film yourself, make sure that anything that you don't want to be a part of the story, make sure that it's not in frame. Oh, shoot. Or around you so that you knock it down. But yeah, so, I mean, me, it's not really that much of an issue right now. However, being that I'm not too concerned with what's going on behind me, I am making sure that I'm in the center of the frame, or you will notice that when I do put stuff together, it's either center or on a third. And I don't know, I'm not sure, do you want me to give an example of this stuff that I've been filming as of late when I've been stuck in the house? You know what? I'm gonna go ahead. I will show you an example of what I have filmed within these past couple days. And so it's gonna be a real life situation. I received this product from the Beard Struggle. This is their new scent. It's called Viking Storm. Now, that being said, if you do have a beard, if you know someone that does have a beard and they're looking for a new scent, this is absolutely amazing. It smells like a luxurious cologne. It's warm, woodsy with a tad bit of sweetness to you. All right, I'm off on a tangent, but let me bring you back to the situation at hand. But I do bring this up because this is a real life situation to where I want to see if you can pick out the use of framing and lighting. There's audio in it, but with what we've talked about, the audio situation is more pertaining to dialogue, whereas in this video, it's going to be audio that kind of goes with the story, and that's going to be for another day. But do see if you can pick up the rule of thirds and lighting. So I'll play that right now. Next up, a very common scenario. It's the talking head setup. And what that is, it's pretty much someone that is sitting down and they're literally just talking to the camera. So what I've gone is I've set up how I generally set up my talking head scenarios, and I'm going to walk you through how I did everything. So we're walking over right now. Boom. I wasn't planning on doing it this way, but it's just going to work out this way. So Sony a7 III, the Deity mic on the top, and then I have it on a tripod right here. And again, with all of this stuff, I'm going to link it in the description box below, but this is generally what I do for my production shoots or when I'm taking stills out and about professionally and for hobby. Whereas with the camera that I'm shooting in with right here, this is my travel camera. So now going into this, I'm going to flip the camera around and show you what it's actually looking at. Okay, so this is the general setup. Right here, I'm going to be sitting in this chair. So I want the chair to be in the very middle of the frame, and the stuff on the sides, I really don't have to worry about that because that's not in frame. What's going to be in frame is going to be the beard oil and beard balm by the Beard Struggle, along with my coffee cup and that highlighter. I wasn't really planning on having the highlighter in there, but it doesn't take away from the story, so that's fine there. So that's the setup. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring us down to the camera, and I'm going to show us what the camera actually sees in frame. So let's check this out. Okay, so now looking at what the camera actually has in frame, here you can see that the chair is directly in the middle of the camera. We can see the beard oil, we can see the coffee cup, and we can see the highlighter. But the most important thing is the subject right directly in the middle. And then I've placed a chair directly in middle of the window so that everything is pretty much symmetric and just flows evenly. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to flip on over to our scene, and I'm going to show you what exactly it looks like on camera. Now that we have the initial setup with the camera, what you're going to want to go ahead and do is you're going to want to have a test run. So in addition to making sure that you're framed, making sure that the lighting's right and the audio's going, you want to make sure that you have enough battery and also enough memory, because one of the worst case situations to come across is where you've been talking for about 25 to 30 minutes, and then you go to your camera, and because you're doing it yourself, you find that either the camera died on you because it didn't have any batteries, or you find out that you go to press playback and all of a sudden it just stops in the middle of your shoot and you realize there's not enough memory. So in addition to the framing, lighting, and audio, make sure that you have your batteries charged up, ready to go, and extra batteries, and make sure that you have enough memory in your camera or your phone, and also backup memory. Now, when it comes down to it, all in all, when you are filming yourself, the priority is about the story and the content. Then everything else does come into play. But first things first, what you need to do, you need to grab a camera or a phone, whatever it is, you need to grab your device and start filming. That's how you get started. Let me know if you like this video and the topic at hand, because if you do, well, let me know in the comment section below. And if you do, I'll integrate a series every now and then, or maybe all together. I don't know. It all depends on what you tell me and your feedback pertaining to this video in particular. But as always, I hope that you found this video helpful, perhaps intriguing. If you did, please go ahead and give this a thumbs up and maybe even subscribe if you weren't already. Until next time, peace. We out.